What's happening, YouTube? This is the Millennial Collector. How are you doing? If you have not, please hit subscribe right now, hit a thumbs up, because today we are talking about grading your cards. Now, I don't know if that's trading cards like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering, or sports cards, or maybe it's tickets or comic books. Wherever you are here, we have some interesting things to talk about. Really high level, 40,000 feet, but we might dig into it a little bit further if people have questions. So the big question is, who do I grade with? You've got PSA, you've got BGS, you've got CGC, you've got SGC, you've got GMA, you've got KSA, MNT, and then there are third-party companies like Ludkins Collectables and others that do all that work for you. What is right for me? That is the big question, because it is really confusing. There are a lot of different companies out there, and how to select who to go with is a little bit overwhelming. So I'm hoping I can make it a little bit clearer today, because there is a lot of options. The first question you really need to ask yourself is, why am I grading the cards? Is it to invest? Is it because I want to encapsulate the cards and protect them? Is it something that I want to pass down to my kids later in life? Do I want to make money? Do I want them to, grow in value as much as possible? You really have to take a look at your cards and at yourself and understand, why am I wanting to grade my cards? Once you figure that out, you can really narrow it down to who you probably want to grade your cards with. So from all those companies that I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, I'm really going to focus today on PSA and BGS, because those are the two largest in the industry. PSA is the Professional Sports Authenticator, and BGS is Beckett Grading Service. Now, I know I'm not going to be talking about the other ones as well. They are all very good grading companies. Every grading company is very good, and they all have their different strengths and weaknesses, I will say. But even SGC is very good, CGC is also very good, GMA is good. They're all really good companies. And then you look at KSA and MNT, those are Canadian grading companies. Those are also very good. So the reason why we're really going to be talking about those PSA and BGS is because they are the biggest, they are the most popular, and I may touch on a few of the others just as I'm discussing some of these companies. So when we move into Beckett first, you will see I have a hockey card. This is the Carey Price rookie card, Young Guns, from the Montreal Canadiens. And you will see that this is graded a 9. It is given 9 on actually every single subgrade as well. So that's actually the first thing I'm going to mention, is that Beckett do subgrades. So what that means is, really, this is how every card is going to be graded, regardless if the grading company tells you this or not. They are going to be looking at the centering, they're going to look at the edges, they're going to look at corners and the surface. That's how they calculate what your card is graded, which effectively figures out what your card is worth. So even though this is oddly enough, a very perfect 9, everything is 9, Beckett do grade in 0.5 increments. So it starts at 1 and goes all the way up to 10, and there are 0.5, so there's a 9.5, there's 8.5, etc. So that is something to be aware of. That's how they do their grading system. Now, you can pay to have the subgrades, and I will say, more often than not, people are grading Beckett with the subgrades. That is something that is very important. I would say it is more common to see that in the industry, and the card is a little less valuable if the subgrades are not on the plaque, oddly enough. Now, one thing that Beckett has that's very interesting, especially over PSA, is that there is something called the black label. And that is where you get a 10, but that means you get a perfect 10 in every single subgrade. And that is the holy grail of cards. If you can get one, it is exponentially more valuable, but it is very difficult to do. Often there are cards that none exist, or very few exist in the marketplace. Now, for me, I collect a lot of sports cards. I find that Beckett is very good at more modern sports cards. That's where they seem to really excel from my perspective. So anytime I have a more modern sport card, that is where I'm going to be grading it. I'm going to be setting it to Beckett. And also with Beckett, if I were submitting a Pokemon card as an example, and I thought it was absolutely perfect, and I thought that it could get that Black Label 10, that's where I would probably submit a Pokemon card. But that is not where I submit all my Pokemon cards. And that's a perfect segue into the PSA world. So here is a PSA 8 Charizard. This is a base set card. This card has been going up in value very lately because there's been a lot of things happening in the Pokemon world. But PSA, and you will see they graded a little bit differently. It looks a little bit different. It's actually, interestingly enough, it's a little bit taller, but quite a bit thinner, actually. It's tough to see on the camera there, but they grade in 0.5 increments as well, with the exception of 9.5. They don't do 9.5. So you can get an 8.5, you can get a 7.5, you can get a 9, and you can get a 10, but there is no 9.5, oddly enough. And as you can see on the card here, there are no subgrades. So as an example, this is an 8. Why did it get an 8? I don't know exactly. I could look over the card and I could, look at the corners and I could see some whitening and I could make some guesses, but you'll never really know why it gets a grade. There could be some that come back and it's an 8, and you thought it was a perfect 10, you thought for sure it should be 10, you'll never really know why, unfortunately. Now, PSA, their strength truly is trading card games. That's something that they have really cornered the market on quite well. So for me personally, all of my Pokemon cards are in PSA cases. Now, again, if I had some that I thought were absolutely mint, I could send them to Beckett for that chance at a Black Label 10, but I tend to focus on PSA. PSA is also very good for more vintage sports cards. So my sports card collection, and I chose the arbitrary number of 1985. That is the cutoff for me to where I start going into PSA cards. So anything 1985 and older, I will grade with PSA. Anything 1986 and newer, I will grade with Beckett, and that's just my line. That's where I have decided to kind of draw the line. Everybody has it a little bit different. And PSA, they also get into autographs, like authenticating signatures. They get into tickets. I have a ticket here as well that I got graded as well. This was from the 2010 Winter Olympics gold medal game, Canada versus the US. Just throwing that out there. So the reason why I really wanted to focus on these two companies, they are the biggest. But if the reason why you have decided to grade your cards is because you want to increase the value the most, these are probably the companies you're going to want to go with. Most likely, not in every situation. The reason why I say that is because of supply and demand. There are more people out there that have been collecting PSA because it's been around longer, and Beckett because it's been around a long time, that people want to be consistent with their collections, myself included. I mentioned earlier that Pokemon, I have focused on PSA. That's the reason why I will only buy something through PSA with my Pokemon collection. Now, I have seen cards through KSA up in Canada because that's where I am from, or I've seen them with CGC as they're new into the trading card game grading business, but it doesn't really fit with my collection and it would kind of stick out. So that's why I look at it and I say, if I'm trying to retain value or increase the value of a card as much as possible, I want to go with where the market is. Now, will it change? Very possibly. There are a lot of people that have contested PSA for a long time for a variety of reasons, or Beckett. There are people that are just not happy with their grades, or they may have very good reasons to believe that the grade is incorrect. But overall, you should just focus really where is important to you. And it comes down to that very first question: why are you getting your cards graded? Is it something that is just personal and you want to protect it and maybe display it? Maybe it's not a valuable card. Maybe you just want to display it. Or maybe it's an autograph of, a personal experience, or there is some nostalgia because you pulled that card even though maybe it's not in the greatest shape anymore. And there are a lot of great companies out there that grade cheaper than PSA and cheaper than BGS. So you should certainly look at all those different options. Down in the link below, in my description below, I will link every single website that I mentioned. And again, there are more companies out there that do grading. So do your research, do your homework, because it is a bit of a rabbit hole once you start. People tend to want to be consistent and go with the same company. And you'll find your own parameters. You'll figure out what makes sense for you. But make sure you do your research, because once you start, it is difficult to change. Not to say it's impossible, but it does make it a little bit more expensive if you do want to make a change at some point. If you do have any questions at all, please leave a comment down below. I would love to hear what you think. I may do some future videos if there is enough interest. I could do more spotlights on other companies and grading services that are out there. I mean, I have done videos as well, specifically on Ludkins Collectible, which is a third-party company that does all the paperwork for you. You know, they did all my Pokemon cards for me through PSA, and it was a very convenient service. So in the eye above, you can check out how to grade through Ludkins Collectible with PSA. So that is it for today, guys. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this made you think and made you really consider what was important for you. So again, please leave a like. Please consider subscribing if you like what you heard. I hope you have yourself an amazing day. We'll see you next time.